We like to think that we're able to make judgments and decisions about the world around us in an objective and logical way. But this is not necessarily the case because of the way that our brain processes and stores information. In everyday life, we are exposed to huge amount of information. And this information differs for everybody because we don't experience life exactly in the same way. And in order for your brain to make sense of the world that you live in and process all of this information, it will use filters and shortcuts. And this is all extremely beneficial because that filter will optimize the information processing. Why do we, for example, during election season, only tend to look for information that paints our favorite political party in a good light, and look for and remember information that will cast our opposing political parties in a negative light? Regardless of what political party you're voting for, you would never go out and Google negative information about them. This phenomenon is known as confirmation bias, which could be described as the human tendency to selectively gather and process information in order to confirm our assumptions and preconceptions, whether they are true or not. The bottom line is that we as humans tend to weigh evidence that supports our prior belief to a greater degree than evidence that will contradict them. Everybody is biased, it's just part of human nature.
In a non-commissioned survey by Pulse Asia, 86% or 9 out of 10 Filipino adults believe that fake news is a problem in the country. Across all regions and socio-economic classes, the numbers are almost the same. 8 to 9 Filipinos are bothered by the proliferation of fake news. According to Pulse Asia, there is no doubt fake news is a problem for most Filipinos. But it is unclear if fake news to one is also fake news to another. Nevertheless, the survey of Pulse Asia revealed that the top 3 sources of what Filipinos call fake news are the internet or social media, television, and radio. Pulse Asia also identified the top group of people spreading fake news as social media influencers, journalists, and national-level politicians. Journalism professor Danny Arao admits that some media people are partly to be blamed, but the majority are still doing their jobs of spreading the truth. Arao meantime finds it interesting that for respondents in the Visayas region, the top source of fake news are national-level politicians. Because the mere definition of fake news may differ among Filipinos, Arao suggested that Pulse Asia should dig deeper as to what Filipinos believe is false information.
Bandwagon effect. Are you voting for who you like or who you think will win? Now let's shift gears to the bandwagon effect. You've probably heard of it before. It's when people start supporting something just because everyone else is. Elections are prime breeding grounds for this bias. We don't just vote based on policies or values. We're influenced by who seems to be winning. Polls, early voting results, and media coverage all create a snowball effect, where voters start backing candidates who are perceived as likely to win, even if they don't fully align with their own views.
How do surveys actually affect the behavior or voting preferences of the voters during the actual election day?
Well,
Sinasabi may bandwagon daw yan.
we've done our own surveys. We've always asked fellow academics to do their own independent study because our own surveys show that if you ask people what affected their vote, this is after the election, we give them a set of choices.
Pag may nabalitaan silang report about certain candidates,
Then that prods them to more or less make a decision on the part of whether to vote for that candidate or not. It depends on the news report. If the news report is positive, then I would surmise that it would influence them to vote for a candidate. If the news report is negative, then that might lead them to withhold support for particular candidates. But news reports are the top source of information that are found to be helpful by voters.
So ask yourself, are you voting for the candidate you truly believe in? Or are you being swept up by the bandwagon, trying to be on the winning side? It's a subtle pressure, but it can seriously skew election outcomes.
The availability heuristic is a mental shortcut that leads us to draw conclusions based on what comes to mind immediately.
Philippine police arrest 3 suspects who rejects allegations of potential
mostly negative view of Philippine politics.
And what about those viral moments? The scandals, the gaps, and those that we can just forget about. That's availability heuristic. Our mind latch onto something that is recent and what is loud. But are we letting a single moment define a candidate? That's a tiny piece of a bigger picture. But our brain, it loves the drama, doesn't it?
This means that when we make a decision, we give a lot of importance to things that we recall quickly and things that we can already see in front of us.
The Philippine Election Commission rejects allegations of potential vote tampering in the country's May midterm polls. Vice President Sara Duterte says her detained father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, has warned of possible election fraud. She did not explain the basis of their concern. The elections chief insists there are safeguards to prevent fraud in the automated election system.
Ginagarantiya po natin sa lahat, sa sambayanan, na imposible po yung dagdag bawas sa isang automated election. Simula pa noong 2010, wala pong napatunayan kahit isang presinto na nagkaroon ng dagdag bawas. Madali pong i-verify kung ang boto ay nabilang at ang boto ay na-transmit.
Framing effect is the way issues are presented controlling your vote. Ever notice how the same issue can sound completely different depending on how it's presented? This is the framing effect in action, and it's one of the most powerful cognitive biases in elections. One candidate might promise to cut taxes, emphasizing how it will put more money in people's pockets, making the policy sound beneficial.
Mayong adlaw na natong tanan, John Gisnel Babayam, and welcome sa ato ang vlog 42. Una nato karon ang ato ang pag-greet sa ato ang kinamagwang anak.
Maayo din ang pamilya ani nila. So maayo po ni pamaagi niya para sa patakaran sa atong lungsod. Sa atong butaran.
The other candidate might present the same tax cut as a threat to essential public services, suggesting that it would gut vital programs. The facts haven't changed, but how they're framed makes all the difference.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. The framing effect. It's like how you tell a story changes the ending. From campaign ads, news headlines, even the way a candidate speaks. It's all about framing. They weren't lying exactly, but they were definitely choosing what we saw, what we heard, and what we felt. It's a subtle manipulation. But remember, it's powerful.
Political campaigns are masters at using the framing effect to sway your opinions without you even realizing it.
Groupthink is a socially driven psychological bias, where the need to maintain harmony within a group of people can result in dysfunctional or irrational decisions. The desire for cohesiveness can lead to group members agreeing at any cost to reach a consensus with minimal conflict.
In a typical national survey of 1,200 respondents selected from over 70 million eligible Filipino adults, one has a 0.002% chance of being surveyed. But are pre-election surveys actually a form of mind conditioning? Not at all, because research shows that many other factors affect voter choices, such as personal experiences of voters, candidate campaigns, and media coverage.
Find that voters are looking to their local candidates for solutions, but in the national scale,
like for entertainment,
they want distractions.
Right.
As a result, decisions are made without critical evaluation or proper analysis. Since controversial issues or alternative solutions are sidelined to maintain harmony, there is a loss of independent thinking and creativity.
And finally, the most dangerous illusion of all, the optimism bias. We all want to believe things will get better, don't we? Candidates promise us the world, but are we being realistic? At past elections, promises were made. And well, let's just say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. Are we setting up ourselves for disappointments?
We will not stop until the last drug lord, the last financier, and the last pusher have surrendered or put behind bars